網を食らい尽くす祖国の塗り定めの枝は光求め進む手繰り寄せた赤い糸はたがための命綱侵食する回顧録は君の死を重く狂わせるよ回る永遠を背負い見つめて恐れフィクション脱ぎ捨てたら今この胸に問い錆びゆくエンゲージ絡まるインフィニティ迷い込む青のラグナロクでどれだけ剣を震える魂を譲らずに憂いのモノクローン出口のない空へ混沌が降り注ぐ遥かへそれでも舞い上がれるか答えと引き換えるは未来
In the dim, shadowy reaches of the past, there was a creature known as the Black Beast. Possessing powers beyond the comprehension of mankind, its only desire was the total annihilation of all humanity. Fighting a hopeless battle for survival, mankind was pushed to the brink of extinction. Just as all hope was about to be lost, 6 heroes appeared. They taught the last vestiges of humanity how to harness and control the mystic force of the universe, known as magic. And humans fused it with science, creating what was to become known as Ars Magus. The humans who had the ability to use Ars Magus stood beside the 6 heroes and against the Black Beast. After a series of brutal battles, mankind finally stood victorious. Amongst the survivors, the war came to be known as the First War of Ars Magus, and the 6 brave warriors went down in history as the 6 heroes. After the defeat of the Black Beast, the people rejoiced, but peace did not last for long. From the remains of the Black Beast, a dark mist began to spread outward. In seemingly no time at all, the black mist covered virtually the entire planet. The mist, which became known as Seether, wreaked havoc on mankind as prolonged exposure had detrimental effects on the human body. In order to limit their exposure to this deadly poison, humans were forced to construct cities atop towering mountains. These cities became known as hierarchical cities. At the same time, the organization known as the Novus Orbis Librarium was formed for the purpose of managing and controlling the objects known as grimoires, which are required to use Ars Magus. Inevitably, the NOL began to leverage the power accorded to them by their control of these grimoires, and most of the world fell under their jurisdiction. With almost half the world's population decimated by the war against the Black Beast, the remaining survivors began to quickly rebuild their civilization under the watchful eyes of the Novus Orbis librarian. Decades passed since the founding of the Novus Orbis Librarium. Within that time, Ars Magus had become an indispensable part of people's lives. However, the use of Ars Magus came with a price, the effects of which depended solely upon the person wielding it. The NOL, having gathered all those who showed a high aptitude for using Ars Magus, were soon accused by the general populace of propagating repression and inequality. Before long, a region under the NOL's control rose in rebellion. Calling themselves the Ikarugoth Federation, they declared their independence from the NOL. This declaration of autonomy did not sit well with the Novus Orbis Librarium, and the Second War of Ars Magus began. For the first time in recorded history, humans used Ars Magus against each other as a weapon in battle. Overwhelmed, the Ikarugoth Federation quickly fell. The victory served to reinforce the NOL's dominance and power over the world. The absolute destruction of the Ikarugoth Federation served as a stark reminder to anyone who even contemplated defying the will of the Novus Orbis Librarium. A few years later, someone dared to defy the Novus Orbis Librarium and rose up to take on the organization whose political and military dominance was seemingly absolute. Even with an army set to rival any nation, the NOL was powerless to stop this one man from destroying the cauldron that lies deep within NOL stronghold. The man in question was called Ragnar the Bloody. It was not long before the NOL declared Ragnar the Bloody as an SS-class criminal. With the largest bounty in recorded history put on his head, and wanted posters with his face plastered on every available surface, Ragnar had become the target of a wide variety of different organizations. The most significant of these were the Librarian's Guard, bounty hunters, known as Vigilantes, and Sector 7, who was known for its advanced scientific research and breakthroughs. In addition to these organizations were other individuals, who either coveted Ragnar's power or sat silently in the shadows, watching. The world was slowly being transformed by the actions of one rebel. (2199 AD). Ragnar arrived at the NOL headquarters of Kagutsuchi, the 13th hierarchical city. However, several of Ragnar's enemies were already there, waiting for him. NOL 4th Thaumaturgist Squadron Commander Major Jin Kisaragi. One of the 6 heroes, Hakumen. The silver-haired girl, Nu 13. Just as Ragnar thought he had finished what he'd set out to do, he was dragged into the cauldron along with Nu 13. As he was plummeting to his doom, Ragnar heard a girl's voice calling to him. With the last of his strength, he reached out his hand. Thanks to her actions, Ragnar's life was spared. The girl's name was Noelle Vermilion. It was the dawn of a new era of mankind. Out in the streets, people were joyously celebrating the start of a new year. However, Ragna ignored the celebrations, intent on more important matters. The destruction of his new arch-nemesis.
I'm pleased you could make it to this meeting, Rachel Alucard.
I suppose long time no see would be the appropriate response.
In your subjective time, it has been 19,792 hours, 41 minutes, 52 seconds.
Correct. For us, it has been 283,875 hours, 18 minutes, 24 seconds.
The difference between our subjective times is irrelevant.
How much of a discrepancy is there right now?
There is an observed 1 in 940,000 deviation from the predicted numbers.
Oh, interesting. You're saying almost nothing has changed?
Rachel Alucard, I think it is safe to say that there has been no change whatsoever. Even your hair remains unchanged.
So, nothing has changed. Although the word miracle is not exactly in our vocabulary, wouldn't you agree that your existence itself is a miracle of sorts?
Correct. We have, however, observed a rather intriguing change in the behavior of a certain mind.
Have you summoned me here simply to tell me that?
Why did you lift Restriction 0, Rachel Alucard?
We wish to know what you are trying to do with the Tsukuyomi unit.
Whatever my intentions for the Tsukuyomi unit, they have nothing to do with you.
Incorrect. Your actions in regard to the Tsukuyomi unit will impact our goals. We are currently re-evaluating the man's worth.
Indeed. Your actions do not seem to be entirely logical or even completely rational. Ragna the Blood Edge may be the origin, but he isn't where we should be focusing at this point.
We cannot understand what makes Ragna the Blood Edge so valuable, Rachel Alucard. I assume you are well aware of the value and significance of the Tsukuyomi unit?
Correct. It is impossible that Ragna the Blood Edge has greater value than the Susanoo unit. This is our conclusion.
I do not think his value is something you will ever understand.
We do not wish to meddle in your affairs, that much we will admit. That is why we accept the phenomenon that has occurred.
Affirmative. We will accept and then select appropriately.
Select? So you fancy yourselves gods now?
Negative. Takamagahara is a system built by humans. Anything which has been built by humans can never be designated as a god.
Furthermore, once a god has been observed, it can no longer continue to exist as a god and becomes nothing more than a thing.
Affirmative. The master unit is no exception.
And of course, the successor to the Azure, Noel Vermilion, is also governed by this rule.
Which is why, Rachel Alucard?
We would like to ask if you wish to become an observer of the boundary once again.
Although I very much enjoy keeping dogs as pets, my desires are not so twisted that I wish to become a lapdog myself.
Rachel Alucard, the outer perimeter is much closer to Takamagahara than you think.
Before you abandon the duties you have already accepted, please consider the amount of time that has already been invested in this endeavor.
Oh? I'm afraid I don't recall the precise amount.
response has been recorded and analyzed. We take it your answer is no.
How unfortunate. I had hoped things were going to be getting a little more enjoyable here again. Still, we had predicted that this would be the choice you would make.
We have already begun observation of the snake.
Then you were responsible for Terramy's release.
Affirmative. We expect significant risk in initializing the destruction process.
He is really something of a maverick. Even we cannot govern him at times.
As such, we have prepared an exit strategy.
An exit strategy? Dare I ask what that might be?
Negative. We are unable to provide an answer to that query. Doing so would constitute unintended intervention.
Then you truly intend to reduce the world to nothing?
Nothing? Oh, don't be foolish. That would be pointless.
The world Takamagahara creates simply needs to be correct. In such a world, there would be no need for the master unit. It would only cause distortion.
Affirmative. Distortions caused by the master unit are currently being considered along with other possible outcomes as a result of the continuum shift.
The phenomena intervention of the master unit cannot be measured. As such, we spend too much time repairing its mistakes. We do not need any more accidents.
Affirmative. Takamagahara will initiate reconstruction without the intervention of the master unit.
Once again, the world will be back in the Azure.
Affirmative. The Azure will inherit the Takamagahara.
So long as the Azure exists, the world will exist as well, no matter what form it may take.
All forms of life return to the world of the Azure.